Okay. Hey everybody, how you doing? Mr. King down there in Memphis. We have another one of your homies on, Keedron Franklin from Black Men Build. Can't wait to talk with him. Pastor Williams, we've been finding that the police did not push for the police did not push to out it was the activists in the streets. It was the black community who pushed out the fact that there was a white officer. The police did not do that of their own free will. And so I want people to know that, and we need to talk about that. Because thank you. Because we're thinking that the police are being transparent, and they're not. Not. Okay, thank you. Hey everybody, welcome to the Santita Jackson Show. It is a joy to be with you today on this Friday. Thank goodness it's Friday. Well, some of us work through the weekend, but it's all good. Everybody needs to take a bit of a pause. And boy, what a week it has been. What a year it has been already. Santita Jackson coming to you from WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station, at AM 950 Radio, voice of progressive Minnesota. We'll be talking with John Nichols in the next hour about Ilhan Omar, the congresswoman from Minneapolis, who has been pushed off of the Foreign Relations Committee for a whole host of reasons. And not only does this resonate in the United States, this resonates all over the world. And that's something we need to be careful about. America is still, for all of the challenges we face, the most powerful, the richest nation on earth, even though technically China has more money. That having been said, most respects, we're still the big people on the block. And for an African woman, an immigrant, to be kicked off of this committee, who has raised questions about key issues all around the world, where in other places in the world, they speak freely about the Middle East. We don't do that so much in the United States. They speak freely about Africa. We don't do that so much in the United States. In fact, we don't really discuss Africa, and on and on and on and on. So for her to be kicked off sends some bad signals, everybody. It's not just about the internal dynamics of what's happening on the Hill. This is international, and there was a lot of pressure to get her off of that committee. In fact, Speaker McCarthy said she can serve on any other committee, but not this one. You need to ask why. And then we're talking about Tyre Nichols. Yes, that is still on our mind. Activists have been linking his death to the cowboy culture of the police department, but there's some more at play here. It turns out that, as we found out about Preston Hemphill, the white police officer who had the initial encounter with Tyre Nichols, it turns out, we've been lauding the police department of Memphis for revealing so much, and actually that's not really true. I mean, the fact is, it has been the professional organizers on the ground, the activists, and the people who found out what was happening. This was percolating in the streets, and they are the ones who sent it up to the corporate tweets and pushed him at least onto a leave of from the department, and push it onto the news. This was not something that was pushed by the police department. They didn't just say, oh, he was involved too. No. So we're going to be talking with a young man named Kedron Franklin from Black Men Build, a wonderful grassroots organization in Memphis, who's been part of that effort to let us know all of the people involved. And we're going to be talking with him and Dwight McKee, Reverend Jeanette Wilson from Rainbow Push, Attorney Daryl Jones from the Transformative Justice Coalition. So we've got a lot to talk about today. So I want you to call me at 773-763-9278, 773-763-WCPT, and let me know what you think the story of the week has been, and how you're processing Ilhan Omar being kicked off of Foreign Relations, how you're processing the Tyre Nichols murder and what's next, and on and on and on and on it goes. Hey, Ashley King down there in Memphis, and Linear Bob out there in Silicon Valley, and Daryl Prunty, how you doing? And Robert Williams and Angela Burns, how you doing? Hey. Sending you all much love. Jewel up there in New York, Miss Robinson, Cuckoo, Joyce, hey. Sending you all much love. All right. Call us at 763-9278. But also, I want you to meet my morning stars on the Santita Jackson and Friends page on Facebook. That is where I can accept friends. The Santita Jackson page, that landing page, they will not allow me to take any more friends. So I need you to help me and go over to Santita Jackson and Friends, okay? And friend me over there. And then on Twitter, at Santita J. I want you all to join me on Twitter, at Santita J. And then also join me on YouTube right now on the Santita Jackson Show. I'm running out of breath. No, I'm not. I'm in the mix. In Chicago, it's cold. We are part of this cold snap that is sweeping the country. Chicago will have a high of 11 degrees above zero. It will be sunny, but boy, it's going to be cold. Minneapolis, St. Paul, 4 degrees above zero, mostly cloudy. Everybody, if someone is without heat, get them to, if not your home, to a warming station. Fire departments, libraries, police stations. There are warming stations. Find out where they are and go. Don't be in your place and be cold. This kind of cold, it only takes a few minutes for you to get frostbite. And a lot of people who are vulnerable, our elders, the very young, people who struggle with health issues, and just people who come on, we're trying to make it from day to day. This is a really, really tough time for them, so please be careful. LeBron James edges ever closer to overtaking the record of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the NBA's all-time scoring leader. He's 60-plus points away, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar plans to be at 2 Lakers games so that he can see his record broken, which has stood since 1989. In the NBA, the Magic will be playing the Timberwolves tonight, and the Bulls are triumphant over the Hornets, 114-98. everybody. I want you to call me today at 773-763-9278, 773-763-WCPT. I want to hear your voices today. Tell me what you think about just the stories of the week. Parts of the northeastern U.S., like the Midwest, are bracing today for possibly the coldest wind chills in decades, since the 80s, everybody. Dangerously frigid temperatures with wind chills as cold as 50 degrees below zero. That's Fahrenheit. They're set to wallop New England and surrounding regions beginning this morning, everybody. Please be careful out there. U.S. officials are tracking a suspected Chinese high-altitude surveillance balloon floating above the northern U.S. in Montana, everybody. It's currently traveling at an altered altitude well above commercial air traffic and does not present a military or physical threat to people on the ground. What are they looking for? Well, there are military installations in Montana. We will find out. Pentagon spokesman, Brigadier General Patrick Ryder, said on Thursday. So we'll see. But wow, that's it. That's strange, isn't it? The U.S. is expected to announce a new Ukraine security package worth approximately, get this, $2.2 billion that will include longer range missiles for the first time. And those are just some of the headlines on the Santita Jackson Show. You know, I'm so excited, and Meddy loves this. She cannot wait to hear Pastor Tisha Dixon Williams every Friday, and I can't either. I mean, what she does with the text of the Bible is just nothing short of a profound anointing. First Baptist Church of Bridgehampton, New York is so fortunate to have her. Everyone, get her book. I See You, Sis. I promise you it will bless you. Here we go. Pastor Tisha Dixon Williams.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much, Santita. Thank you for having me weekly. This is always such a joy for me on Friday morning, and it really sets my day off right, and I hope it's the same for all of you. I wanted to let you guys know something you may not know. Did you know that as believers in God, we are in a witness protection program? I can hear right now. I haven't witnessed any crimes. There's nothing that I've done. I'm not engaged in anything. I've not snitched on anyone that would make me have to be in witness protection. But we are. As witnesses of God and God's family and being in God's family allows us access to a witness protection program. Let me help you out. In Psalm 23:5, one of the most beloved Psalms, we find these words in verse 5. Thou prepares a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Now, for years, we've all heard and been made to think that somehow that was a table of revenge or retribution. But I want you to know today that that table that's prepared is a table of rest. Here's the backstory. David was in contention with his son Absalom. His son was threatening to usurp him, and he finds himself in a difficult position right back in the desert where he spent so much of his time fighting for his kingship. But in the midst of that desert, God still fed the troops. God still fed the people that were in the desert, and not only fed them, but 2 Samuel tells us they were fed well. In the middle of everything that they were going through, God still prepared a table before them. Now, here's where the witness protection comes in, and did it in the presence of his enemies. I want to tell somebody today that when we look at what our enemies are doing, they can only go as far as God allows them, because you are in the witness protection program. God, first of all, prepared this table. This is a carefully curated table. This is a laid out table. This is a robust, healthy, amazing table that God has prepared for you. How do we know? Because just at the point of this verse, we see God transition from shepherd to host. Now, I know you've been to a lot of amazing dinner parties. We all have, but I can guarantee you've never been to one prepared by God. Not only is that a healthy table, it's a healing table. It's a table where everybody is welcome. It's a table where you can sit and eat in peace, void of the dangers of the enemy. Why? Because he said it is prepared in the presence of the enemies. Let me tell you what that means. We always think of that as that my enemies are just going to watch me eat. My enemies are going to watch me in victory. And while that's true, what it really means is that you get to rest easy and eat well while your enemies are in the midst, but they cannot come near you. That's a shout for somebody this morning that God allows you to sit and rest and eat in peace while your enemies surround you but cannot touch you. We're always talking about everything that happens at a table. Every time you see a table show up in the Bible, it means some drama is about to ensue. We comb hair, we do homework, we do everything at our kitchen table. In the corporate world, we want to eat at the table. When we want revenge on somebody, we say, my, how the tables have turned. But I want to tell you about another table, a table that assures protection and peace and provision. This table is where we see God become host, where God has laid out everything before you, but the enemy cannot touch you. And that word enemy, it just means more than just people. It means your problems and your predicaments too. So what God is really saying, I'm laying out a platform for peace for you in the midst of all of your problems, in the midst of all of your binds, in the midst of everything that you're going through. I'm giving you an assurance of peace and protection at a prepared table. So I want somebody to know today that even though your enemies are surrounding you as a witness of God, God has prepared something for you. God is giving you provision, and God is protecting you even in the presence of your enemies. Welcome to Witness Protection.
What did I tell you? Hallelujah. Amen to that. Witness Protection Program. We are protected, but you got to be a witness. You got to give something up so you can get the grace and the glory. I see you, sis, and I heard you, sis, today. I see you, sis. I see you, sis. Pastor Tisha Dixon Williams. I love her. Oh, I know you do too. Oh my gosh. Blessings to you. Before you go, how can we worship with you on Sunday?
You can worship with me on Sundays on YouTube at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're also upgrading all of our systems, so very soon you'll also be able to worship with us on YouTube and Facebook at the same time. And certainly if you're ever in the New York, Hamptons area, we'd love to have you. I also wanted to say, Santita, I'm in the midst of what I call my Love You 30-Day Challenge, which actually is going to start on Valentine's Day. And it is a self-love challenge where every day for 30 days you do something to show yourself love. And you can find that and pre-register for that on whosthatladymen.com. It is one of our most successful programs, and lives have been changed. Women have abandoned imposter syndrome, stopped talking negatively about themselves. It really is a transformative initiative, and you can change your life and elevate your level of self-love in 30 days. And so if anyone's interested, head to whosthatladymen.com.
Amen. Amen. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Ooh. And you know, we have got Dr. Shanita Knighton, infection preventionist, registered nurse. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Everyone, you need to follow her on her social media. Hey, Dr. Nina. That's her handle at HEYDRNINA. And you know what? I wanted to ask you, I follow you very closely. One of the things that kind of jumped out at me, maybe because it affects me personally, but I think it affects a lot of people for various reasons. Sleep, or should I say the lack thereof. What difference does sleep make? Why is sleep so important, Dr. Knighton?
Good morning. So the simple answer is our cells need time to repair. And so as a result of that, one of the things that we don't think about when we start to think about cell repair is what does that mean? Everything like that whole saying of like how we shed old and like we have new that evolve. Just for example, I can use the simple concept of our skin cells. So when we shed skin cells, we have new skin cells. It's the same exact thing in terms of like internally. Our body has to go through this repair system, and in order for it to go through this repair system, it needs to rest. When we don't rest, what happens is our body then goes into a reaction of where it's almost like fighting for peace. And so it causes like an inflammatory process, which then starts to lower our immune system. That's why when they tell you that, in order if you are sick, you need rest, and the rest is to help your body repair itself and get back to its restorative state. when someone say, if you don't get some rest, then it's going to make you sick, then that's why it ends up making you sick, because your body's not having time to recover. Sleep is very important when it comes to infection prevention and control, because the thing is let's say your body is, fighting an infection, sleep can help your body. Like with those antibodies, that you need to be able to fight the infection are produced like when you are asleep. And when you are not asleep, unfortunately, you end up with a reduction of those antibodies that will help to fight the infection off.
So when you're stressed, or let's say, what's the difference between, say, just staying up late because you're hanging out, staying up late because you're stressed, or, as one gets older, it seems like your sleep patterns get disrupted. Is there a difference, or is it just the lack of sleep is just harmful?
So that's the thing. I'm not a sleep specialist, Santita, so I can't really get into, let's say, the nuances of when to sleep, how to sleep. I just know why we should sleep and how the sleep is related to the immune system just within itself. And it's just that our body is able to target, let's say, an infection better or an inflammation, when we are asleep. And unfortunately, when we're not sleeping, our body's working. It's constantly fighting off a lot of different things, including environmental factors, including the food that we might be eating that has additives in it. So it allows our body at a rest state where nothing's going in it, where nothing is being absorbed, where nothing is being consumed, to really be able to rest. And so having a sleep routine just within itself, regardless of when you sleep, even though I know that there are studies about night workers, it's important for your body to have that routine so it does know when it's going to get rest.
Everybody, sleep is so important. To take good care of yourself. I've always had two people to get on me about my sleep hygiene. They felt that I had poor habits. Dr. Deborah Verholden and what's her name? Yeah, that's right, Dr. Shanita Knighton. So I said, let me bring this up today. Because I don't get a lot of sleep, and I'm really working toward getting more sleep. And you know what? I can tell you, Dr. Knighton, I've got about a minute left. When I get the proper amount of sleep, it makes a difference. I feel refreshed. I feel like there's just so much more that I can do. I've got about 30 seconds for you. Please make the case for sleep.
So for one, just as I mentioned, that cellular repair, after we've torn our body down with stress, the day-to-day work and everything else that's going on, it's very important for us to think through why sleep is important. Sleep is important because we need to think. We need to be able to recover from stress, especially when the mind is constantly going on a day-to-day basis. So I just encourage people to think through sleep and think about it at first time, to be able to rest and your body to be able to repair when you can't do the repairing and self-healing yourself. So for anyone that's not getting wellness, sleep can be the wellness, the passive wellness that you need. Not all of it, but it can help.
Dr. Shanita Knighton, everybody, follow her on social media at Hey Dr. Nina, HEYDRNINA. It's real simple. And she's going to give you direct directions about how to lead a healthy life. Everybody, let's talk about Tyree Nichols. Do you know it has not been the police who've been outing all of these officers? This has not come from the suites. This has come from the streets. People have been doing it. Let's talk about people power on the Santita Jackson Show. Back in a minute. All right. Dr. Knighton, how are you?
And I'm here fussing at my child this morning because yesterday she was going to go see puppies instead of getting her stuff done.
Well, I can tell her that it never ends. My mother was fussing at me last night about just in general. Just, you're like, will I ever get this right? Like I'm real grown. Will I ever get this right for you? Will I? Oh, and you know, in time, you look upon all of that with fondness.
Right.
But not today for your daughter. Not today. Not today. Oh.
Mr. Franklin's on the line.
Okay, who's on the line?
Mr. Keith Franklin.
Oh, Mr. Okay, wonderful. Mr. Franklin?
Good morning.
How are you? How are you?
Jackson, how are you?
I'm doing well. You know, I just have a thing for these Southern accents, and I think it's because I grew up with one, too. But really, my father has never lost his, and I love it, love it, love it, love it.
The little twang.
Oh my goodness, I love it, love it, love it. Or drawl, whatever it is, y'all. And the great thing about Southerners is that you all talk a little slower, and then it gives people a chance to, well, it gives you a chance to have people underestimate you. I'm like, oh, okay, do so at your own peril. That's the craziest thing ever. But you know, I have someone who might be good for your organization to reach out to, Dr. Shanina Knighton. She is an infection preventionist, a young African-American registered nurse, research scientist. She does such great work. And if we want to know how we can be healthy, healthful, and how we can prevent infection, part of her mission is to change our baseline. She said, we're accustomed to being sick, but we need to we need to have a new paradigm where, okay, thank you, where wellness is our new normal. And I think that's a wonderful thing. Keedron Franklin, Dr. Shanina Knighton, Dr. Shanina Knighton, Keedron Franklin. He's from Black Men Build. I love that.
That's awesome. Nice to meet you. It's an honor, Dr. Knighton. How are you? Pretty good. Likewise. How are you? I'm well. You know, it was brisk morning. Good. Probably the warmest we've had in the last 4 or 5 days, so I'm loving it.
Oh, well, look, girl, he's in Memphis. Not that matters, because it's been cold everywhere.
Yes. I'm like, we got a wind chill of -1. Yeah. Well, let me not speak about this sunshine. Let me.
No, just keep on going so I can get you off this phone. Yeah, keep on going, keep on pressing the issue. Oh gosh, you see me dabbing my nose this morning because I've got it cool over here for the equipment, even though they say you don't have to keep the equipment cool. Yes, you do. I'm so cold, y'all. I'm so cold. I'm cold.
30, we have Reverend Wilson, Mr. McKee, Mr. Draken as well as on the line. I'm sorry, Mr. Franklin as well as on the line.
Okay, thank you. Okay, just stand by. I'm waiting for us to bring us up. Okay. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show. Can you believe we're already this deep into February in the year 2023? We're like a year away from the presidential contest, which will really begin at the end of this year. It's just unbelievable. I'm Santita Jackson, coming to you from WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station. Let's talk about Tyree Nichols today. All of these revelations, all of these police personnel and EMTs, all these folks who we've been finding out were involved in this young man's murder. We keep thinking that the police are making revelations, but that's not true. This is coming from the people. The people have been finding out who has done what, and they're the ones who push it out there. So we're going to be talking with a young man who is so impressive from Black Men Build. Cannot wait for him to come up to Chicago. A brilliant professional organizer. You know, and organizers have a certain kind of personality. It's one thing to be an activist, to shake the tree, that's important. But organizers really have to get along with people. They have to have a love for people. And that is what they do. They draw all men and women unto them and help them to get active themselves. Kedron Franklin, everybody. And of course, Dwight McKee and Attorney Darrell Jones and Reverend Jeanette Wilson from Rainbow Push. We've got a lot to talk about today. Got to find out what happened, what the people have been doing to push this story about Tyre Nichols' murder down in Memphis, Tennessee. But first up, we have got Chaparral Wells getting ready for the Super Bowl. And I didn't realize you were doing what I was about to say Thanksgiving, but not even. What is it, Valentine's Day also? But how can we get some vittles from you? And what can we get?
Yes, Santita, you can give us a call at 708-526-4546. 708-526-4546. We actually are doing Valentine's Day bouquets, strawberry, chocolate covered strawberries, as well as also pretzels and little baskets if you want that as well. Fresh flowers, whatever you need for Valentine's Day. You can give us a call at 708-526-4546. And we're also getting ready for the Super Bowl with our hot wings, barbecuing, teriyaki, as well as also garlic parmesan, sweet chili sriracha, as well as our meatballs and sliders. So give us a call and we'll get everything squared away for you. Also, Santita, we are promoting our annual Courtney Copeland Memorial Foundation Gala. That's going to be held on March 3rd, 2023 at the JLM Community Center. So for more information, go to our website at www.copelandmemorial.com. That's www.copelandmemorial.com. Thank you so much, Santita.
Thank you, Chaparral. Hey, everybody, call us at 773-763-9278, 773-763-WCPT. We're talking about Tyre Nichols. Why are we talking about it? Because people are still talking about it. There's something very unsettling about this young man's murder, because we feel and we're finding out that there's a lot more to this than what we were told initially. And so we want to hear from you at 773-763-9278. Joining Dwight McKee, of course, Attorney Darrell Jones, Chairman of the Transformative Justice Coalition and the head of Push Excel, and assistant to Reverend Jesse Jackson, Reverend Jeanette Wilson, Esquire. But let's start with you, Kedron. It's wonderful. Kedron Franklin, Mr. Kedron Franklin from Black Men Build. And he's a professional organizer. That is what he does. And I said, as we've been talking, Dwight McKee made the point. They're doing what we have historically done. They have been in these streets getting the information. And now with the internet, and now with we get the change from the bottom up, not from the top down. LBJ didn't just sign the Voting Rights Act. People were marching and were active. These things don't just happen. Nothing just happens. You have to make things happen. Kedron Franklin, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. It's an honor.
Oh, Mr. Franklin, it's an honor to have you. Let me get right to it. Many of us have had the impression that Preston Hemphill, the young white officer, 26 years of age, who was part of the initial stop of Tyre Nichols that led to his death, that the police department, said, okay, we're going to be transparent. We're going to let them know. We're going to let the public know what has happened. And we're finding out that that's not how this happened. Would you help us? How did we find out about Preston Hemphill and everybody else?
Quite naturally, right? With your introduction, people power. So let's just begin with understanding that in Memphis, the organizing and the tools and the strategies have been deployed and applied this way for years, right? Since 2015, with this movement around like this whole Black Lives Matter era of injustices towards Black men and Black women, children, unarmed people, right? And so what happened is people got on the ground And Facebook and Instagram are detectives, right? People sit at home and they can just go and look and comb through information. And what happened once the video had come out, people were, hold on, where's this white officer? Where's this guy at? Why his picture's not plastered? Why ain't he fired? Where is he? And so, again, it's amazing. People on the ground got to combing through the photos, just putting the timeline together. Okay, these officers was kind of fairly new, but they got to go and looking through the pictures, right? They got graduation pictures, and lo and behold, the same armband, the watch, the wristwatch, the Apple Watch that Officer Henfield was wearing, he had on in his graduation photo with the director Crow. Was shaking his hand. He was getting his certificate, and he had this watch on, same color armband on the Apple Watch. So, there you go, right there. Here go the picture. And so once the pressure was applied, they're like, yeah, it's Henfield. That's the guy. And so again, it's the strategy, it's the smarts of Black women. I have to always give credit to. I'm sure that the sister that's kind of leading the organizing on the ground, Amber Sherman, I have to give credit. That's sister put in some diligent work. And so again, it's people power.
Well, you know what? It is people power. I mean, what is our takeaway from this? I mean, because it seems that the people are pushing this story because the corporate media would like to walk away from it, I'm sure. You have a financial settlement and that's it. What's next, Keedron Franklin?
There's a lot, right? There's a lot just thinking about the implosiveness of what this has shown, right? That not only so-called white officers beat and kill us, the so-called Black officers beat and kill us, right?
Yes.
And so you have to take a deeper dive into what are the practices? What is the bias? How's the bias there, right? And so again, anywhere across America, if you ask the police or their citizens, they basically will tell you, I'm a cop. You actually sit, and so there's this power dynamic that has to change, and so we have to think about reform and keep these draconian scorpion units, these federalized task force. I know because around we exercise my First Amendment right, they placed regional task force over me, right? These same scorpion units, by Memphis gang unit. And the multi-agency gang unit and the organized crime unit, they operate the same, but they're on the county side. But again, these type of units are federalized and they're just roaming our streets, pulling over regular people for presumptive charges, right? They just, you have a tail light out, but I also want to investigate you for a crime. That's illegal, right? So there's a lot that has to happen, and I think this just opens up the floodgate for us to really do some prosperous work to, again, keep people safe, right, and keep people abiding by the law.
How has this impacted the community? I mean, are you less trustful of police? Are there any? Are the police officers trying to make overtures that would make you trust them more? I mean, what's going on between the community and the police?
The relationship has always been this toxic, totalitarian relationship, right? This big I know you, right? I tell you what to do and you have to listen. It has never been an even exchange of power, or as a whole, right? Even if you have some cops that may have some grace for people, that's not the culture for them to have care and grace for people. It's just not. And so, just a quick story. My relationship, I don't trust a cop. I don't trust a law enforcement agent. I don't trust any government that oppress and suppresses its people. In no shape, form, or fashion. I've had to we've taken MPD, the Memphis Police Department, and the City of Memphis to federal court and beat them in a trial in 2018 for illegally spying on myself and others. I actually saw the email where the former police director told them to watch me and everybody around me for exercising my First Amendment right. So, someone intervened and asked the DOJ to come down and to intervene in our relationship, right? Because again, it was, I knew the police was watching me every day. I knew my phone was tapped just around basic organizing. They was more afraid to put gang units and task force around someone who has the freedom, my federal rights, right? My God-given alienated right. They put these type of gang task force on us. And so the DOJ had come down. We had the top brands in a circle. We sat down in a circle to do like more of an open space, right? Like some healing work. Because again, our relationship is tumultuous. But it's always, again, them pressing up, and we're not going. We got to defend ourselves, right? We have to protect ourselves. Our wives and our family and our husbands, they want us to come home, regardless if we are organized. Our people want us to come home safe too, right? And so the DOJ had come down, the regional guys from Atlanta, and we had already laid out the agenda. All we wanted was these guys need some mental help. We all need some help, right? But these guys are walking around with social emotional illiteracy. They're not tuned in with their emotions, and when someone gives them a little pushback, they go to 100 and they hurt someone. And so, we set up just an agenda that was strictly for them getting some help, right? So that we can figure out, again, how can we start repair? We can't repair a relationship and they're not healed. They need some healing. Man, these guys came in with some armed security and put security around. We're in a circle space, right? A space that's supposed to be open and we're supposed to be vulnerable. These guys have guns around us. We're like, hold on, we can't be like this. This is not a safe space for us to do what the agenda said for us to do. That meeting went crazy, right? They didn't even want anything for them, And so, again, they need help. They need more help. And we all need help, right? But they're licensed. They have agencies to roam the streets and hurt people. We all just need help, right? But they need more because they have the license to kill and get off with immunity.
We're talking with Kedron Franklin, Black Men Build, out of Memphis, Tennessee, helping us to understand what it's feeling like in Memphis right now and exactly how we found out about Preston Hemphill and how we're finding out about others. Let me bring up the rest of the panel. We have got Attorney Dwight Jones, not Dwight Jones, I'm conflating the two of you, Daryl Jones, from the chairman of the Transformative Justice Coalition. We've got Reverend Jeanette Wilson, Esquire, from Rainbow Push, and Dwight McKee. You are a native Memphian, but you've been living in Chicago practically all of your life. Does any of this sound familiar to you, where the streets have to get the message up to the suites?
Absolutely. Let me first applaud my brother's courage. And yet, they're courageous. And to carry the kind of cross he's been carrying. And it's been that kind of courage in the spirit of the Nat Turners and the Dr. Kings and the Jesse Jacksons and the Al Sharptons, which has taken us this far as a people. And young brother, I just want to tell you to keep holding fast. You remind me a little in your spirit of Fred Hampton. And even though they didn't end the right way, and it is taking us, the people, miles and miles ahead of the curve. And it's brothers like you that really kind of keep this fire burning. So let me applaud you first, you and your compadres, and you all's boldness, and you all's courage, and you all's fight for freedom. Yes, it does sound familiar. Not only does it sound familiar, it's really the way of the world, Santita. It is how they've been able to oppress us and keep us subjugated over the last 400 years when we've been here. This oppression and these conditions, they have been set up by the marketplace, but they've been enforced by the state. The marketplace couldn't do this by themselves. The capitalists couldn't do this by themselves. There has to be a system conducted by the state that enforces these rules and regulations and oppression and pays people to do this in behalf of the state. And so that is the culture, not just of Memphis, but of the country. Wherever there are black people and white people, you have this situation operating. The impunity of the state with impunity to be able to impose their will on capitalists that have us as the chief labor force or the marginal profit in any community in America.
Attorney Darrell Jones, your thoughts? I mean, because you and Barbara Arnwine have been on the ground. I mean, in large measure, it's your efforts that helped us to see the Ahmaud Arbery case, because that could have just happened really under the cover of darkness, if you will.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. You know, one of the things that Brother Franklin said that just struck home with me was this: is that when you start going into the communities where these atrocities occur, you start learning from the ground what the atmosphere is like. One of the things that Brother Franklin said, and the reason it struck me, is because we had on our show Pamela Moses, who was also on the ground there, an activist in Memphis. The words that Brother Franklin spoke with regards to saying that it was toxic between the community and the police, that it was a totalitarian type effort that was there, that they were suppressive to the community. Those were the same exact words that Pamela Moses used in describing what was going on the ground in Memphis. So I think that when we start understanding, and it wasn't a one-day thing. I think as Dwight was saying, what McKee was saying, this has been a continuum that appears to have been in Memphis. So it was something that had been building for a long time with the community relationship with the police department, and was just made hyped with the Scorpion unit, which was just an hyped up enforcement of policing and violence against the community to try to force them into compliance. So it seems as though a situation like a Tyree Nichols was bound to happen because of the road that they were going down and not keeping structures in place for the policing there in the community. So it's extremely important, I think, for the country to hear what the environment is like in Memphis, Tennessee, with regards to policing and the community. Now we're going to see the steps of not only under the microscope, we're going to see the steps now that can be taken to try to undo some of this, to correct some of this that's there. And it's not going to happen immediately. It's going to require a continued community effort to be certain that it stays in the minds not only of the community, not only the minds of the citizens of Memphis and the citizens of Tennessee, but in the minds of and on the face of everyone that's in our country, to be certain what's happening in Memphis as a result of this killing of Tyree. It's just incredible. And qualified immunity is a part of it. Having that qualified immunity removed and having officers held accountable. You've got to change the culture of policing that's there in Memphis in order for those citizens to feel completely safe.
And Reverend Wilson, you as a lawyer too in this city, I mean, you've seen the power of the FOP. You've also seen the power of the people. We have seen that when we vote, when we march, when we organize, and when we continue to apply the pressure, a lot of, things happen. But, I think that it's just interesting that the police force with the support of the corporate media, have been able to absorb so much of the credit. And it's actually been the people who pushed Preston Hemphill out and all of these other officials who were involved in this killing. Reverend Wilson.
I think that as a lawyer, I have been in almost every police station in the city of Chicago representing clients, because once my client was arrested, I immediately would go to the police station, whatever time it was, because once you enter into the criminal justice system, there are layers of this that most people don't understand and don't realize. You get arrested, you're sent to a local neighborhood police station, and in there is a culture within that station. The person that controls some parts of the behavior of the police at that moment are the state's attorneys assigned to that police station, because they determine what charges, if any, will be levied against you. And when you're in there, you're not aware that that lawyer that you see is not a lawyer that cares about you. It is a lawyer that's a part of this police hierarchical structure. The police are functioning as if they are a military force assigned to a neighborhood, if you will, and they therefore are there to control, suppress any people that seem to act out of order. They're not there with the culture of we're here to serve and protect. So you got the state's attorney, and then you are brought before a judge. If it's on the weekend, overnight, next morning you're going to be taken before a judge, charged to be read to you. So now you have somebody who's elected judge sitting over your case. You get 9, maybe 60 seconds, 90 seconds before that judge to talk about your background, which means they don't care who you are. It's a system designed to define you at that very moment. And you may be held over. If you can make bond, fine. If you can't make bond, you go to county. And I'm painting this because there's a whole system. There's a city police. There's a county state's attorney. And then the county elected judge that makes decisions about you. And you have yet to really be properly represented by anybody. They'll say, oh, you want a lawyer? Here's a public defender who has a boatload of cases. And so now you have these layers of people that have already profiled you from the time you were stopped, whether it's legal or illegal. You have no opportunity yet to really challenge the very fact that you have been stopped and arrested and placed in custody. That can happen if you're outside of Chicago or Memphis. The county police then stop and arrest you. All of these paramilitary forces are moving aggressively. They're not listening to you. They don't want to hear what you have to say because they have a preset mindset based on where you stopped, who you look like, and there's this profile that exists about you. Never been arrested. You haven't had any criminal background. They haven't checked any of that. You're a black man. It's another nigga on the street. Let's take him in. And so in these particular communities that we call high crime communities, the police have a map and they have every morning at roll call, they go through what has happened last night in that particular community, and they then make decisions arbitrarily. They're not talking to the community, they're talking to themselves. These police do not live in that community. They have no contacts with that community. Nor they don't have particular care about that community. In Chicago, a lot of the police were coming out of Mount Greenwood, all white, Irish, for a long time. And then those blacks that happen to be in these elite units, they feel like they're special. So I've been selected to be in this paramilitary terrorist unit. And so therefore, I'm going to work with them. I'm part of the blue. I'm not black, I'm blue.
Well, hold that thought.
Challenge this concept of I'm with the blue.
Hold that thought, because we need to talk about it, because it is in that context that Keedron Franklin and these young organizers, it's important. And when we come back, I want Keedron to talk about the difference between an organizer and an activist, because there's a difference. As active as Reverend Jesse Jackson is, he's an organizer. And you have to have a certain personality and a heart for the people to organize. We'll be talking about that. It's the people who've been exerting their power and pushing this story. Back with more of the Santita Jackson Show in just a minute. Keep talking, y'all. Ooh, this is great.
Man, that was a great analysis.
Wasn't it?
What happened when one is arrested?
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. And you have very few lawyers, defense attorneys, get up and go to the jail before these people are processed. I mean, because they will put stuff on your clients. They scare the heck out of them. I went early in my career, they arrested a whole bunch of young boys because a policeman had been shot near a school. So they just raided the school. And Pension he said, if I was a young lawyer, I'd just go to the police station and find people. And we did just that. Lou Myers, a whole bunch of we just ran around the police stations. He had these kids chained to the wall they tell them, if you sign this paper, we'll let you go. How do you do that to some 15 and 16-year-old children that have never been arrested? My client, they took him from home, told his mother, we'll bring him back, just want to take him down for questioning. And, the Cook County Lawyers Division, we just blanketed the city and found these young people and made sure that they didn't make statements against their own interests. And these were children, had never been, these were not some little bad kids that been in juvenile all of their lives. These were children that would have been profiled and put in a system with having done nothing wrong but go to school and end up on the street after school and were arrested because something happened to a police officer. That's the kind of stuff. And so as you look at activists and organizers, they also need lawyers to protect them. Mm-hmm. When you march, all this marching, Black Lives Matter, you also need to have lawyers there to protect you on the street. Because you then become the enemy of the state, that they will target and remove you and place you in situations where you're unable to function. They just shut you down. And that's why these Black Bar Associations are so important. It's not, I never joined the Cook County Bar to get on the bench. I joined to protect the people on the streets. I miss Lou Myers today.
Oh my gosh!
I mean, we were activist lawyers. I mean, you watch television, you see something happen, you know you had to go there to protect the people who don't know the law. They don't know their rights. You have one right on that street is to remain silent. You cannot litigate your issue on the street with these paramilitary officers.
Well,
they will hurt you. They will kill you.
Absolutely, but I'm here to tell you, Joseph Kiles has given Keedron, Franklin, and a small cadre. It's not that there are only a few people, but these people have dedicated their lives to this work. And he needs to benefit from your counsel and from Attorney Darrell Jones' counsel, and we need to have some lawyers all around the country who are willing and able to help them when they need legal advice and when they need to be bailed out. You know, Keedron, you're still there, Mr. Franklin? Oh, we're not talking around you. We just, these are people who've been in this for decades, and we're so impressed with you. We've heard so many wonderful things about you that we want to be helpful to you.
Yeah, we want to contact lawyers and licensed in Memphis and the state of Tennessee to begin to help, not just in Tennessee, but around the country. We're convening a national lawyers conference called next week because we have to be responsible. We did not go to law school to be silent. That's not why we were able to get licensed. And most of us, like I'm from Tennessee, we can litigate in Memphis pro hoc vice. So we can make it work wherever we are. We know people that have the license. So we got you, Keedron. And you have to have people that you can call.
Mm-hmm. And get some advice about, because I know my father and his work with Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King and before, they had elders who were willing to give them advice, who helped them to strategize. Okay, you're going to go down to Woolworths and get arrested today. And there were things, this was choreographed. I mean, Rosa Parks was choreographed. And
you just go do stuff.
Well, we have to be ready,
Activists, you have several activists that will call, and we have a meeting before the action, so we know what they were going to do, and we know what we had to do to make sure somebody has to be at these police stations. Mm-hmm. We have to move aggressively in support, in concert. It's like a choreographed movement. Yes, there's some spontaneity to it, but when we see that on television, when we hear it, we should know in advance some of the stuff that is being planned so that we can say, well, to do that, this could possibly happen. If you don't do that, blah, blah, blah. You can still make the decision, but you need to make an informed decision about action. That's the danger benefit of the level of social media that's available. You can mobilize quickly, but you can also mobilize chaos just as quickly. And in the midst of chaos, military forces win, because one thing they know how to do is they drop tear gas. They go into a straight military mode, spray pepper spray everybody, so that you can't see and you can't function.
And once you make that decision to do that, you yourself become a target for the police.
Which is what he was talking about. You know.
You really are somebody who risk their lives in behalf of the people. And in many cases, it's people who can't afford to reinvest in you or in themselves. And so you actually have to go out and raise the money to be able to serve people who don't have capacity to fund themselves. And so, I mean, people always amaze me when they look at these activists and act like they're opportunists, because they have all of the risk, all the exposure, suffer all of the little reward.
Oh, look.
You have an opportunity to put yourself in life in 15 seconds.
Stand by. And they raise no money. They endorse checks. They don't have to raise money to generate payroll at all. That's all my father's been doing, and he's 81 and still doing it. Stand by. Coming in. Hey, everybody. Good morning. Hello, Chicago. Hello, Minneapolis, St. Paul. Hello, all around the country and all around the world. Beautiful Philadelphia and New York and Pennsylvania and Los Angeles and. It's joy to be with you on the Santita Jackson Show, coming to you from WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station, and AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. We're going to be talking with John Nichols at the bottom of the hour about Ilhan Omar, Congresswoman from a great state of Minnesota, the great city of Minneapolis, and she has been removed from the Foreign Relations Committee. The Speaker of the House said she can serve on any committee except this one. Why is that? Can't wait to talk with him about it, and you too. We're talking about Tyre Nichols and all of these revelations about all of these officers, all of these persons who were involved in his killing, who bore and bear some responsibility for it. This didn't come from the police. This came from the people. People power. We're talking with Kedron Franklin, professional organizer from Black Men Build. Can't wait for him to get up to Chicago. And we're talking with him about that and how that happened. And of course, Dwight McKee and Reverend Jeanette Wilson from Rainbow Push, and attorney Daryl Jones from the Transformative Justice Coalition, are giving him some free legal advice. And so we're going to be doing more of that, but letting him know, yeah, you're now a target too. And he understood that. That's why he was sharing his story with us. Like, wait a minute, sometimes, we try to invite the police in and they come in with all these guns and whatnot, and that's not what we're trying to do. So we're going to be talking about that with him in just a hot second. We've got some cold weather here in Chicago, 11 degrees above zero. That will be the high today, even though it's sunny and beautiful. Minneapolis, St. Paul, 4 degrees above zero, mostly cloudy. In the NBA, LeBron James is within 63 points of claiming the record as the highest scoring NBA player ever. Wow. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar has held that record since 1989. And remember, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar had 4 years fewer in many respects to do it because he went to college. He went to UCLA. But you know what? Hey, a record is a record, and there are only a few of them. One can only think of Hank Aaron breaking Babe Ruth's record, even though they never let him be the home run king, and Barry Bonds breaking Hank Aaron's record, even though they won't let him be the home run king. That's interesting. But we're very excited for LeBron James. That should happen in the next. It could happen. It could happen in the next game, given LeBron's record. We'll see. They're certainly expecting it to happen in the next 3 games in the NBA. The Magic will be playing the Timberwolves tonight, and the Bulls are triumphant over the Hornets, 114-98. Everybody, our NHL teams in Chicago and in Minneapolis had a little time off. There has been an Arctic blast, everybody. Parts of the northeastern U.S. are about to get what we're getting in the what we've been getting in the Midwest and through, quite frankly, in parts of the South. 50 degrees below zero. Those are some of the dangerously low temperatures, and they're set to wallop New England and surrounding regions this morning. Get people to warming stations, everybody. Firehouses, police stations, libraries. Find out where the warming centers are. Even if your heat goes out, you should not be cold. Just get up and get to a warming center, please, everybody. U.S. officials are tracking a suspected Chinese high-altitude surveillance balloon floating above the northern U.S., particularly Montana. Quote, it is currently, quote, traveling at an altitude well above commercial air traffic and does not present a military or physical threat to people on the ground, according to Pentagon spokesman Brigadier General Patrick Ryder. This comes in advance of a meeting that our Secretary of State Tony Blinken will be having with the Chinese. In Ukraine, the U.S. is expected to announce a new Ukraine security package worth $2.2 billion. It includes longer-range missiles for the first time. Everybody, you know, we have been talking about financial freedom on the Santita Jackson Show, and we mean it. If you are selling your home or purchasing a new home and would like to save thousands of dollars, there is a new program presented by our friends that's right, at Team Hochberg. It's called Perks at Work. It's a benefit. They're offering this program through the end of April, and you need to take advantage of it. When it can save you thousands of dollars, it can make you thousands of dollars when you purchase or sell your home. Here's how it works. When a Team Hochberg affiliated realtor sells your home, they'll reduce their fee by up to 1%. That's a lot of money, everybody. When a Team Hochberg affiliated realtor helps you to purchase a new home, you will receive up to 1% of their commission as a closing credit. That's thousands of dollars, everybody. Team Hochberg will also credit their loan origination fee, and their affiliated attorney will reduce their fee, thousands upon thousands of dollars. There's one couple that made close to $9,000 using the Perks at Work program. Please call them at 855-56-DAVID, 855-56-DAVID, or if you want to read about it. The Perks at Work program, go to 56david.com, 56david.com, so that if you sell your home, if you purchase a new home, you can save thousands of dollars if you get in touch with Team Hochberg. All right, everybody, we have been talking about what's been happening in Memphis. What's been happening in Memphis? It has been the organizers. It has been the activists. It has been the community who have outed who've outed Preston Hemphill, the white police officer who helped to initiate this stop that ended up in the death of Tyree Nichols. And so many other people who were involved, professionals who are supposed to save your life, right? Well, it has been the community who have vigorously tracked these persons, and now we're seeing them relieved of duty. We're seeing all kinds of things, and we're talking, of course, with Dwight McKee from the National Action Network and one of the founders of Rainbow Push, actually, brilliant social scientist. He's working with the Sankofa program on the West Side, doing some great work. Of course, the head of Push Excel, Reverend Jeanette Wilson, Esquire, and the chairman of the board of the Transformative Justice Coalition, Attorney Daryl Jones. Just Dwight, very quickly, you were talking with Hedron Franklin, who is our special guest today, a brilliant young professional organizer. Well, you know, before I get to you, Dwight, you wanted to make it very clear to me, Mr. Franklin, from Black Men Build, professional organizer. You said, I'm an organizer. I'm not an activist. What is the difference, and why was it important for you to draw that distinction?
I think that it's they play a different role. Their role is kind of to show up for major events. They're more event-based, and they're more agitators. And they raise the issue, to public forum, and are more directly confrontational with the police because they generally meet the police on the line, and they have a face-to-face. And it requires one kind of courage and one kind of guilt. But an organizer, it's day to day. It's going into the community, pulling people together, trying to make institutional change, trying to make legislative change, trying to change the very nature of the culture that you're dealing with. It's more a long range, in the trenches kind of work.
Mm-hmm.
Jeanette Wilson is more an organizer than an agitator. She does day-to-day grunt work, and she's in the office every day, day and night, trying to make institutional change. And so for a guy like, when they talk about opportunism, the fact of the matter is, it really only gives you the opportunity to be a martyr, because whenever you become either an agitator or organizer, you're going to bring down the wrath of the state one way or another. It's more insidious when you're an organizer because they have to take you down from behind the scenes, where it's more, at some levels, more as dangerous being an agitator because you're dealing with the front line, you're dealing with looking the police eye to eye. And they know where you live, they know how you operate. That's why you find a lot of agitators on the front line with masks on, so the police can't recognize who they are, so they don't target them directly that day once the march is over. Whereas when you're an organizer, the state has a plan for your life.
Oh, yeah.
They spy on you, they tap your phone, they tap your mail. It's a real long-range, dangerous situation. Absolutely.
And Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, he was both. Reverend Jackson, they've been both. When you when you just say, I'm a target, and it just spreads. It not just spreads to your family, it spreads to the people who work with you. That's what Reverend Sharpton's had to deal with. So, Keatron, what have you had to deal with? And how do you, because you're a father, and as my father would say, as my parents always said, you've inherited our friends who you didn't earn and our enemies who you didn't earn either, but you got them. And you oftentimes have more enemies than friends.
Most definitely. Just a quick story. So yes, most definitely. So before organizing around like I'm more of a, how I call it, involved level of socioeconomic political issues, I was organizing in the streets, right? So just like every other so-called black man or so-called man, right? We all had social clubs and groups that we belonged to one another, just have friends and have this camaraderie with. So I was always a person that loved people, right? So I love personality, I love know about characters, know about you, pain. And so I built meaningful relationships, right? So once I started, and then I, love music. So we, started doing music, and what happened was I started the longing for one to do something different around my community, and I've always been around spread information. I want people to be more knowledgeable. But there was also this thing where I noticed the shift in power. And so while I was in the street, I never had really much of an issue outside of a couple of legal troubles with the police. But my life was turned upside down once I started organizing the betterment of people in our community, and not just my people. I'm not poor people, right? Because I recognize that this is more about the elite. People have it, and the rest not, right? So I've been spied on, right? Like I told you guys, we've been to federal court, and it was ruled, they violated 19th and a consent decree that said that they cannot do political intelligence. So found out in 2017 that they were sort of the list. We ended up calling it the black list, right? Just listed there like our names, date, addresses, our height, weight, people we was friends with, what we might be. So, that's an issue, right? And so, at that time, I was, we already had attorneys that was kind of surrounding the movement. A great super lawyer by the name of Bruce Primer, who was on the first consent decree. He was actually one of us who found the first consent decree with Mike Cody, who also represented King back in the day. Great attorneys, right, with the ACLU Nashville. And so Bruce Kramer, he pushed the button. He was like, hold on, this is a violation of what I know I did back in '78. It started in '76 around the Vietnam War, and MPD doing the same thing to University of Memphis college students. And so we dug into it, and we recognized they hit a line. Actually, these folks got your name all through this. Like like these folks really owe you. And I'm like, for what? And so when they started getting some of the information, we found out that they had places informant around us. He was a lieutenant in his multi-agency gang unit, organized crime unit sector, and he was acting like a black man, so-called black man on Facebook. I was like, he shared my wedding photos. I mean, not introducing, but like things I shared, like personally, he shared that. And I'm like, I remember this guy, right? Because one of our friends, and shout out to Noah, one of our friends, they called him. I'm like, hey, this guy got to be a cop. He don't show up or nothing, but he in our business a lot. And so, they come out that he was an informant. They ended up firing him from the game. Your cover was blown, right? So the informant was found out, and we ended up going to trial around it, and we won. Shout out to Judge Peter Color in the West District. He saw the truth that Memphis was violating our rights, right? And so what happened? People started reaching out, and it's great. The Intercept did a story around. A group sent me to Washington, D.C. to testify around what they found out is the federal government. And this what I'll be remiss if I don't speak about this because, again, all through this, the federal government keep coming up. And so I went to Washington, D.C. to speak on the fact that what they found out was a lot of us was being placed on this black identity extremist label. That way they can justify spending money to local municipalities to be able to watch us. People who they consider was left wing, right, or progressives, right, like or Antifa or Marxists. Like they consider so they started spending millions of dollars to federalize these type of unit, which is again it's too much, right? It becomes militaristic, right? They're like trying to turn the military inward towards your citizens. So, I mean, as an analogy, it's like if someone's in the 12th grade and they're getting their NFL defensive tackle brother to come beat up me and I'm in the 9th grade. Like, it's too much. It's too much, right? And so, again, what we found out is the feds are sending money to these local municipalities to beef up them, to get extra weapons, right? Like to put more cameras around. Again, a task force. So most of these task forces are a unit of Homeland Security. Most of them have Homeland Security guys that's roaming. So what I don't want to get people to think that they didn't just find cops and put them on these cops that were on Scorpion unit. They are part of MPD. They pulled them from out of that culture and put them on these units. So the whole unit, the whole squad, and I have family members that are Memphis Police Department that I love dearly, that I will tear the pavement up about. But as a system, as an institution, I don't like the institution the way it operates. It's not serving them. It's not a great service. And as taxpayers, we should have the right to dismantle this service, right? And so, again, I've been thinking about putting more, like, how do we create, like, a community public safety department, right? Nothing that we have to, like, dismantle, what we believe are peace officers, but they need to do their job as peace officers. If that's or enforce traffic. Real traffic violations, right? If that's what they're doing.
Well, and that's been the.
We have to figure out how to put more, like something in between where we're not having these road cops touch us so much. They don't need to be coming in contact with people so much.
Well, let me ask Attorney Mark Fancher, brilliant lawyer, and you deal with cases like this all the time. I mean, but this is Keedron Franklin, professional organizer, one of our activists, one of our organizers, from Black Men Build on the ground in Memphis, one of the persons, a group of organizers who are responsible for letting us know about Preston Hemphill and all of these people who've been involved in the killing of Tyree Nichols. And you hear, the other side of, the unsexy side of what these organizers are dealing with, the harassment. I feel like J. Edgar Hoover's still alive, Mark. 3 minutes, they belong to you.
Oh, he is, and we should not be deceived about that. And I want to congratulate and salute this brother for being a warrior. And I think that all of us need to adopt that mindset, an understanding of the fact that this is a ruthless war that is being waged against our community, no matter how much the federal government may smile. I worked for the ACLU, and several years ago, we sued the FBI in connection with this whole Black identity extremist thing, as well as what they call racial mapping, which is their effort to get around the old-style COINTELPRO image that they had, where they would overtly spy, and they authorized their agents to engage in what was called mapping of communities, where communities suspected of terrorism or violence could be placed under surveillance. The gathering places and resource people and individuals could be identified, and they said that was okay for the agents to do. And so we sued to get more information on that through the Freedom of Information Act. And the entire federal system, the courts, basically fell into line and denied us many of the documents that we sought. But we did get enough to find out that this kind of thing still goes on, and they're not playing. And to the extent that we're delusional about the fact that this is quote-unquote our government and that this is quote-unquote our country, it puts us in peril, in real danger.
Why does this put us in danger? 1 minute. Mark, why are we in danger? Oh my goodness, where's Mark? Well,
Most definitely in danger. But I know for the rest of my life that, and like I tried to accept that I can have shift what I've always been on my statement, right? But I don't get to share. I don't get to share my story to the world. Right? I don't show its face on social media because again, things about people like Fred Hampton, right? And I seen a lot of those Fred Hampton channel, just again following the footsteps of his giant of a father, right, standing on his shoulders, right? It was like. Just understand that they will try to get rid of this second generation of their peace.
Absolutely.
The one that's going to continue to push us forward, right? So, again, it has shifted the way I move more. Like, it almost isolated me to a bit. And again, that's what they want. Like, I can't allow that. I can't allow that. And so, again, it's different. Like I said, it's not paranoid if it happen, right? Like, they spent billions of dollars. What I can say is now, a lot of the like the powers that be in their office now, like what I can't find out the district attorney, like I'm actually a part of the ad hoc committee for public safety in our county, right? But now they see that Peter wasn't there for the opportunistic thing, right? He really does love his community, right? He really do care about public safety in the way that. Not just saying, like I don't like this. I don't like cops. I think we should abolish it all, right?
Well, Keedron, hold on 1 moment, because I want to get some closing thoughts on the other side from you and everyone here, because I've got John Nichols, who's going to talk about Ilhan Omar, talk about harassment, the congresswoman from Minneapolis, who has been put off the Foreign Affairs Committee. They said you can serve on any committee but this one. Back with more of the Santita Jackson Show in just a minute. Oh, wow. Keep talking, honey. I'm on Facebook Live. It is just, ugh. Excuse me. Mark, are you still there?
I'm still here.
Oh, okay, because we lost you. Oh, I was like, oh.
No, I finished my statement.
No, because I wanted you to continue, because I wanted you to say why it was so dangerous, and you hear Keedron talking about what he's dealing with. because now that he is, I mean, as he has gotten deeper into organizing, he's like, whoa, hold on, I got to shield my son. And I remember the day that my father announced that he was running for president. He said something that stood out to me then. It stands out to me now. He said, my wife and I, Jackie and I, have protected our children. We've kept them out of the public eye, but now, just given what we're about to do, they're going to be more public than they've ever been. And my brother, Mr. Franklin, my parents had to send my brother Jesse away to boarding school when he was 10 or 11 because my father was so controversial, and in most quarters so unpopular in Chicago, he had to get out of here. And then my brother Jonathan went away. I mean, everybody went away except me. and I'm the eldest. And, and I would see the hostility. But, I was also extremely focused, academically. So, I just put my head down and did the work. But you just, you would see the news commentators, making negative commentary. Dwight, you remember this, Jeanette. I mean, Walter Jacobson built his career tearing Reverend up.
You remember, we had bomb threats every day at the building. I used to get the calls because the lawyer, they said, send a call to the lawyer. I'm like, oh no, this is unbelievable. Kind of threats on the telephone and the mail. And, when they had the anthrax issue, we had to have Reverend's mail, all of your personal mail go somewhere else to have the documents, scans, and all kinds of stuff. When you step out as a organizer / activist, because oftentimes you play in both roles, you're an enemy of the state. You need to know that.
You are that. Do we have John Nichols out?
I am here, yes.
Okay, hold on, John. I'm gonna get to you. We've been talking with this young man who I want to introduce you to, Keidron Franklin. He's one of the organizers, professional organizers on the ground in Memphis. They are the ones who outed Preston Hemphill. It was not the police. They're the ones who've been finding the identities of these persons who've been involved in the killing of Tyre Nichols. They're the ones who've done that, and they've pushed those stories out. It has not been the police.
One of the things that we don't think about. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And what John is going to talk to us about, speaking of harassment, is what happened with Ilhan Omar. I mean, I'm struck by the fact that the speaker said, she can serve on any committee but foreign relations. Anyone but that one.
I think we realize when people have these positions of power and how they use them to benefit an ideology. Police department, we see EMTs because you watch these television shows, cops and Chicago police. We don't realize all of the layers of people that are on the street whenever a crime occurs. The EMTs coming back in 15 seconds.
Stand by. Well, clearly we're gonna have to do this again, but it's a lot. Stand by, because I'm gonna give 5 minutes to this segment, then I've got to pivot over to John, because I'm on in Minneapolis, St. Paul, and people want to talk about Ilhan Omar too. Stand by, please.
Okay.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Santita Jackson Show. One of our morning stars, two of them are having birthdays. And you know what? I could not leave without wishing Lorraine Dunkley, hey, happy birthday, because we wished you happy birthday yesterday, but today is the day. Joyce Anderson, it's her birthday. It's their birthdays, everybody. Give Joyce and Lorraine some love today. You all have been giving them some love and giving to them. Mwah, I love you both. Happy birthdays. You know how I feel about these birthdays, everybody. Hallelujah. That's right. Happy birthday. Yes, yes. We've been talking with Keidron Franklin, Black Men Build, professional organizer, part of this cadre of organizers who have helped us to see. They have pushed out the Preston Hemphills and all of these people who were involved in the killing of Mr. Nichols. No one. This was not the police. The doing of the police. No, 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 no. It's the activists who've done this, and they are targets. And we've been talking about that. Of course, we have got Attorney Mark Fancher, brilliant civil libertarian and lawyer, and we have got Attorney Daryl Jones from the Transformative Justice Coalition. Indeed, he's the chair. We've got Dwight McKee, brilliant social scientist, and Reverend Jeanette Wilson. But I'm going to start with everybody, give you about a minute apiece before we get to John Nichols and talk about Ilhan Omar, because that is of great import. We see how you get when you dare to speak out, when you stand up for the most vulnerable people, you see what happens. But she said, that's okay. I'm going to keep on talking. And that's what you have to do. You have to keep on talking, keep on walking. It's right up to freedom way. You have to keep on doing it. Attorney Daryl Jones, I've got less than a minute for you. You see the kind of harassment that this young man is dealing with now, but he keeps on going anyway. And this is what you and Barbara Arnwine have had to deal with too. I think we need to do like a session on that, Attorney Jones.
Oh, no, absolutely, Santita. What Peter Franklin is dealing with is what happens when you start going up against a system that is determined to put you down and to keep things quiet. And so, I certainly applaud him because, I know the path that he's walking and all the eyes that are on everything that he does. But he continues to walk because he's walking for what is right and for what that community needs. And, I applaud him for that. And, I certainly want him to know that, certainly the Transformative Justice Coalition and Barbara Arnwine and I are here. If he needs us, just call us and we'll give him whatever counsel or possibly can give him. And love to have him. We got to certainly lift up his stories of talk to him later, invite him to come to DC and be on our radio show and lift up that story as well, Santita. But, much kudos to him. We're certainly standing and thanking for him.
I'm going to connect you all. Thank you for giving me permission, but I was going to do that anyway. Attorney Mark Fancher. They're on WOL every Tuesday at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. You don't want to miss the show. I mean, because they do a lot of great work. And Keidron, I'm so glad that you're going to be on with Attorney Barbara Arnwine, the foremost advocates for voting rights in America are Barbara Arnwine, Attorney Barbara Arnwine, and Attorney Daryl Jones. And we're just blessed to have them. Attorney Mark Fancher, your closing thoughts.
Yes, I just want to emphasize the fact that notwithstanding how frightening this sounds, that we can't buy into that and internalize it and react with fear, because that's the whole idea. The federal government, specifically the FBI, manages through intimidation and harassment and all of the other things that they've done through the decades. And we become vulnerable when we try and act individually. If we begin to see ourselves as saviors of the world or as messiahs as individuals, the protection against federal government harassment is organization, as Dwight McKee mentioned earlier. When we as individuals become involved and connected with organized resistance, then it becomes much more difficult for those who try and end the movement or to isolate individuals to do that. So organize, don't just mobilize and think of yourself as an individual messiah. Organize with other people, and that way you're protected and we can move forward against an oppressive system without fear.
Amen. I love that. Organize. Don't just mobilize. I heard that. Reverend Jeanette Wilson, less than a minute, but please make the case.
I agree with this whole idea of learning and training real organizers, and collaboration among organizations is so significant. And so from the Rainbow Push side, I'm convinced that as we move towards our convention this summer, we're going to need leading some sessions on organizing in the 21st century. Because activism is great, but it's the organizing, the long-term strategies that lead to changes. And we have to train people to organize. There's a connection to the faith community. There's a connection to the legal community. There's a connection to the business community. Because it takes money to make bond. It takes money to continue to remain on the street, to do certain kinds of things, and to protect people. And so those are some of the things that we're going to talk about. And leading up to our convention in July, really want to talk to this young man. He is one of the 21st century stellar people that we want to connect to and make sure that we contact others around the country so he does not feel he's by himself. There's a whole body of young men and women that are doing the work, and when we come together, we win.
Amen. Dwight McKee, 1 minute.
Well, it's always interesting to me to know that the FBI and the local police never have this kind of apparatus set up to go against the Proud Boys or against the Ku Klux Klan. Same time J. Edgar Hoover was spying on Dr. King, he was gambling, going to the racetrack with the mafia. Is that this fight has always been very one-sided. It's been the state and the capitalists against poor people, people of color, black people, and indigenous people. And so the notion of a them us or we them is not an abstract notion. We have to understand that we have to declare war on them because they declared war on us, even though we have to make sure we got the moral imperative on our side of the war. And we're for justice, and we're for nonviolence, and we're for righteousness, and we stay within the tenets of godliness. Mm-hmm. Whereas on their side, it's, evil and violence and money and power. It really comes down to good against evil.
Absolutely.
It's really that basic.
Absolute spiritual wickedness. That's right.
And we maintain our integrity and stay on the moral imperative.
That's it. Keetran, I've got about a minute for you, and I cannot wait to have you back because we're gonna have a conversation similar to this next week. We're gonna do this because I think that people need to understand the things that we still go through when you dare to speak out. Keetran Franklin, Black Men Bills. Your closing thought.
Just piggybacking on what the brother said is evil, right? It's fighting hate toward people, which again, what I and others found out is it's controlled by the people that have the money. We have a nonprofit here by the name of Memphis Tomorrow, and there's a bunch of billionaires, right? And they control what goes on in this city. And once we figured it out, I almost threw up on myself once I realized, man, we're fighting the mafia. The mafia still exists, right? And here they are in front of us. Again, so what I want to do is continue to highlight during this issue of the Tyreek Nichols situation, the people that's on the ground leading up there, Kareem Ali, who have converged like this group of people that's leading, Amber Sherman, L.J. Abraham, Barbara Burris, Cassio, Frank Gotti, and Holly Dempster. We're organized in this and we move, right? And so I just want to highlight them again. We have to fight together. That's how we win and keep winning and hold on to those milestones. And so I want to say thank you again to Chicago area, St. Paul, Minneapolis. Much love.
Much love to you. Stay right here. John Nichols from The Nation magazine, their national correspondent. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. We've been together since Reverend Jackson's first campaign in 1983. Whew, it seems like there's a connection between what we're about to go into as we look at Ilhan Omar. She said, I'm not going anywhere. Even though the speaker has now said she can serve on any committee, but this one. Not foreign relations. No. You can't do this. Unbelievable. John Nichols.
Yes, it is. That is the case. And we've been following this for quite a while. During the campaign last year, Kevin McCarthy, who was the Republican minority leader, said that if he came to the speakership and if Republicans came to a majority, they would exactly bench for efforts by the House to take Marjorie Taylor Greene and Paul Gosar, two very extreme Republicans, off their committee. And they have done that now. removing Adam Schiff and Eric Swalwell from the Intelligence Committee, and then yesterday formally removing Ilhan Omar from the Foreign Affairs Committee. Now, it's important to start with that, Santita, because we need to understand this isn't being done because of anything that Ilhan Omar said or did. This is being done for purposes of vengeance, right? This is a payback for something that the Republicans were upset about, not seeming to recognize the reality that the removal of Green and Gosar from their committees came after they threatened, after they were charged with threatening fellow members of the House of Representatives. So when we put it in context, what we really have to understand here is that this effort to go after Ilhan Omar has been framed as, some sort of objection to her stances on Israel, to her statements about Israel-Palestine policy. And clearly there are many folks.
Oh, no, wait, that's part of it too now. I think we have to, I think we have to be upfront about that. Her Middle East policy has rankled many Democrats, and they have wanted her out, but there was a party line vote. And I'm glad that the Democrats stood together for her.
So let's put this in context. That the framing was that this was being done because of things she had said about Israel-Palestine, and because of her stances there. That is clearly an underpinning of all this, because back 4 years ago when she got to Congress, she was very much under attack by Republicans and Democrats. But the important thing to understand is that, she herself said she made mistakes, and she said some things in ways that she shouldn't have. Very apologetic, but also very clear in her stances. She went on over 4 years to become an incredibly respected member of the Foreign Affairs Committee. Even Republicans said she did a great job. And yet, yesterday, she was removed from that committee on a party line vote. All the Republicans who voted to remove her, Democrats voted to keep her. And the tragedy of this, and the thing that needs to be understood, is that removing Ilhan Omar from the Foreign Affairs Committee does not in any way change the debate, the great issues of the day. All it does is take away someone who opened up the debate, who put more issues on the table, and who worked very hard to promote a moral foreign policy agenda that emphasized diplomacy, cooperation, human rights, addressing poverty around the world. Now, Ilhan Omar's not going to stop doing this. She's not going to stop advocating. In fact, as she said brilliantly yesterday, she plans to continue to be as outspoken, even louder. But the committee has been dramatically diminished. It has lost one of the strongest members. And this is bad for America. This is bad for the world.
Why is this bad for America? Because I want you to explain the repercussions internationally, which is something that she spoke to briefly yesterday.
Yeah, I don't think that I've written a lot about Ilhan Omar over the years and interviewed her many times about her service on the Foreign Affairs Committee. I don't think people understand how much she's recognized around the world as an advocate for human rights. And as someone who has been willing to call out countries all over the world when they have treated their people poorly, when they have been violent toward minorities, when they have literally not been people, not cared for people, she has spoken up. She has criticized regimes and governments in Africa, in the Middle East, in Asia, all over the world, and she has brought light to those struggles. So she is a very internationally recognized figure as someone who stands for human rights. And yes, she has stood for human rights in Palestine. And that gets a lot of attention in the U.S. because there's an immense amount of coverage in the Israel-Palestine struggle. But she stood for human rights in Yemen. She stood for human rights in Saudi Arabia. She stood for human rights in Sudan and other countries around the world. She has been absolutely outspoken and absolutely clear in framing out
a global vision, and that's gotten attention around the world. And one of the things she talked about yesterday, in a really remarkable speech, which I recommend people should listen to, it was a stunning speech because of its clarity and because of its firmness in this very volatile moment. She was sort of a North Star in the midst of all this ferment. One of the things she said, as a person who came to America as a child refugee, right? She was someone who had been forced to flee her own country, who had lived in refugee camps. She came to the United States and proudly became a U.S. citizen, bringing her experience as a refugee to this country, as so many have before. And one of the things she said in Congress yesterday was she's not going to stop speaking out because there are other little girls in refugee camps. There are other little girls experiencing the horrors of political violence in countries around the world. And she is not going to go silent just because Republicans take her off a committee. But that committee will be less well-focused, less framed, less engaged with human rights because Ilhan Omar isn't there. So the end result here is that Congress did damage to itself yesterday. Congress harmed itself. And in many senses, I think it's lifted up Ilhan Omar. She will come out of this as what she has always been, a widely respected international voice for human rights. And Congress will look petty, partisan, dysfunctional. In fact, yesterday was just a sadly dysfunctional day for Congress.
Well, I think they look dysfunctional, and they also look owned by various interests. And that is a very dangerous thing for America, as we are touting the virtues of freedom and liberty and It's a bad look. I mean, I saw Reverend take these hits when he ran for president and before he ran for president. And when you take these, and when you stand up for the most vulnerable people in the world, when you're looking for balance, wait a minute, nobody's looking for anybody to be eliminated. We're trying to figure out a way for the lions and lambs to lie down together. And it really has enlarged her. And I thank heavens for that. But where do we go from here? Because I was struck by the speaker saying she can serve on any committee but this one. John, any committee but this one? What was that?
Well, the important thing to understand, when Ilhan Omar came to Congress, she requested to be on the Foreign Affairs Committee. Elliot Engel, the longtime chairman of that committee, who disagreed with her on many issues, met with her and recognized that she would be an outstanding member and welcomed her onto that committee. When people attacked her and criticized her and condemned her and said she should be removed from the committee, Elliot Engel said no, she should remain. And it's very striking that obviously, many people kind of make this just about Israel-Palestine, right? And what was so important was so many members of Congress stood up yesterday, so many Democratic members of Congress, including Jewish members, who said, look, this is absurd. People can disagree about Israel-Palestine. They can have different positions. They can debate. That is the American way. But when you punish someone for expressing a point of view in this regard, you effectively shut down that debate. You diminish the discourse in a way that is really harmful to efforts to achieve peace in the Middle East, but it's also harmful to the American political body politics or functioning as a country, because we don't have the debates we can and should have. And it was really quite striking, the people who stood up and defended Ilhan Omar yesterday, a broad cross-section of folks from the Democratic Party, but the Republicans, many of whom know that she is a very capable member, a member who have actually worked with her on key issues. They voted in lockstep against her. And so this is an act of pure partisanship that, to my mind, shows Congress at its very, very worst. This is a Congress that refuses to accept debate, that refuses to accept honest discourse. And as you say, it's a lesson it is a lesson that will be noted by the world. And again, people will see this in a much broader context, because I can tell you there are people in countries in Africa who see Ilhan Omar as one of their great champions as regards religious freedom, as regards civil rights, as regards human rights, as regards fighting poverty.
Women's rights.
Fighting child poverty. What?
Women's rights. All of that.
Women's rights, of course, yes. Yeah. And so, I watched this yesterday with a certain sense of sorrow and frustration, because Congress has never been perfect. It's always been a flawed institution. We can point to history of so many things that were so disappointing and so horrific over the years. But yesterday we saw partisanship overcome common sense, humanity, and frankly, what's good for the United States. And I just want to emphasize, for people who are paying attention to this issue, I really do recommend watching Ilhan Omar's speech.
Oh, yeah. I tweeted it out and I put it on my Facebook page. It's there. It's there.
And it was just an exemplary address.
Oh.
It was rooted in her own history, her own experience. That was a reconciling and uniting speech, as opposed to a divisive speech. And I would also recommend watching the speeches by Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Mark Pocan from Wisconsin, Dean Phillips from Minnesota, who defended her very powerfully, Jane Schakowsky from Illinois. It's interesting that quite a few of Representative Omar's Midwestern colleagues stood up in her defense, because they worked so closely with her over the years. And again, this is the point to understand. We would hope that in Congress, because people work in close quarters, they get to know one another, that they could move beyond petty partisanship and divisive ideological gameplay. But yesterday, unfortunately, we saw that's not the case. Instead of moving beyond that and actually recognizing what Ilhan Omar has to contribute, the Congress, the majority of the Congress, chose to remove her from the position that she sought to serve. And I must note, Santita, one other thing that's important here. Most of the Congress don't line up to be on the Foreign Affairs Committee. It's hard work. It involves researching countries around the world. It involves meeting with and engaging with people from all sides. It's a demanding position if you take it seriously. Most members want to do something else, where they're dealing in money, or they're engaged with appropriations or budgets and things like that, things that might give them power. Serving on foreign affairs, you serve there at your best because you want to make a more peaceful world, a more functional world, because you believe that is good for the United States.
Sure.
That's what Ilhan Omar did. She was punished for that.
Well, you know what? I mean, and the thing is, you do it there because there is so much power there. I mean, 95% of the world lives beyond our borders. So let's be clear. As hard as the work is, certain people want to be on that committee because it has such tremendous resonance all over the world. But you know what? Dr. King's bigger than he ever was. Medgar Evers is bigger than he ever was. Gandhi's bigger than he ever was. Malcolm X is bigger than he ever was. You can kill a person, but you can't kill an idea and you can't kill a spirit. And that is the good news, everybody. John Nichols, The Nation magazine, everybody, please check him out. Follow him. Nichols Uprising. Get it? Yo, I'm very serious. That is his handle. That is what he does. He's always wreaking havoc, but in a godly way. I love everybody. I'm so glad you've been with us today. Happy birthday, Joyce. Happy birthday, Lorraine. Make it a great day, everybody. I'll see you on Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson on Sunday at 7 a.m. Central Standard Time. Until Sunday, God bless you and make it a great day. Thank you, Paul, for a great show.
Thank you.
Oh, love you. I'm going to run because I got to, oh my. But John, thank you. Because, I mean, oh my
What a
God.
blessing to talk to you today.
Oh, look, you're a blessing. But there was no